would like to call the meeting of November 13th, 2019 to order. The Zoning Board of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial board created by the City of Ames. The board's purpose is to decide on applications for home occupation permits, special use permits, exceptions, and variances to the zoning ordinance, applications for conditional use permits in the floodplain, requests for reasonable accommodation because of a handicap, and appeals of the decision of the zoning enforcement officer. As a board of the city, we welcome all testimony. We make our decisions based on the facts and evidence as allowed under city code and presented in open meeting. Testimony before the board must be given under oath or affirmation. If the proceedings become lengthy, we may ask that testimony be focused on new facts or evidence not already presented. We ask that you come to the microphone if you wish to speak, so that your testimony will be audible and may be recorded. Before speaking, please complete an orange information card and hand it to the recording secretary. When you are testifying, please address your remarks to the board. We also ask that the proceedings be orderly. The Zoning Board of Adjustment is an independent volunteered board of citizens. We are not part of the city administration. We are served in our efforts by Vicki Fielmeyer, Assistant City Attorney, Benjamin Campbell, and Eloise Dahlstrom, planners, and Jackie Higgins, recording secretary. The order of proceedings for each application will be as follows. First, an oral statement summarizing the issues and procedural steps will be presented by the staff. Second, the testimony and evidence will be presented by the applicant. Third, testimony may be heard from any members of the audience who wish to speak in support of or in opposition to the appeal. Next, the board will give the applicant and the city staff an opportunity to present concluding summaries and arguments. And finally, the board will discuss the issues and evidence and come to a decision. Okay. So the first item on the agenda tonight is approval of the minutes of the meeting of October 23rd, 2019. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
I didn't see any.
Okay.
Move to approve the minutes of the meeting of October 23rd, 2019.
I'll second it.
Okay, so that is a motion by Perkins and a second by Shapaw. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Okay, the next, I declare the minutes approved. Next item is discuss future meetings for guest lodging special use permits. I believe we all received a memo from Eloise. And
Yes, you received a memo on this topic, and to introduce this topic, we have a brief PowerPoint to talk to you a little bit about the new topic of guest lodging. The guest lodging was just approved third reading last night by the City Council. And what is guest lodging? This is a term that we coined. It's commonly referred to as Airbnb, which is one of the many online platforms people use for advertising guest lodging. It can be the advertising, the offering, or otherwise making available use of a home, house, or an apartment, or a room in a home for overnight lodging for short term, which is 31 consecutive days or less, not 30, in exchange for money, goods, labor, or service. Guest lodging does not include hotels or motels. These units that are offered are subject to hotel and motel tax, however. Are there different types of guest lodging? Yes. The City Council spent almost 2 years discussing this topic and going through various options and hearing from the public. And as a result, they came up with basically 6 categories that they are that will be allowed. To summarize it, it can be as an accessory use or as a principal use. So if it's an accessory use, it's something that is approved at the staff level. It also means that the home is the primary residence of the owner or renter, and that the use is just incidental. If it's a principal use, then that means the home is being used as a business. It means that oftentimes, well, except for like a bed and breakfast, which also requires the owner to be present, what we're calling vacation rental is when somebody purchases or has a home that they are offering the entire home for use as guest lodging. They don't live there. They don't ever live there. They're offering it for the full year in short increments of time for vacation lodging. And so principal use is much more intrusive to a neighborhood. And because of that, the city council determined that they would require these uses to have a special use permit approved by you prior to someone being able to get an operating license. So that's where you come in. So this is a summation that compares each of the types. And I will let you know that we do have a web page under planning now that's called guest lodging. And this chart is available there, as well as a list of frequently asked questions to go through all kinds of things that people may have questions about. But the part that impacts you is the part that's in green, where it's guest lodging as a principal use, and the approval process requires a special use permit as part of what they have to do before they even apply for the license. It's required for either bed and breakfast or vacation lodging type. It's not a special home occupation permit. Previously, some of you may remember that we did have a category of special home occupation that was for bed and breakfast. Bed and breakfast now has been moved into the guest lodging license and will no longer be considered a special home occupation permit. So the criteria is pretty similar to what you would have with a special use permit for other kinds, for residential use. It will only be able to be granted if sufficient facts are presented. And I don't know if you can read that fine print. The fine print talks about a standard that's 1,000-foot separation requirement for vacation rentals. This is applicable for single and two-family homes in certain low-density residential areas. This won't be something that you have to worry about, but we're bringing it up to let you know that there is that restriction as well, so that that requirement is not a zoning standard. It is actually in the new chapter 35, which is the guest lodging licensing code section. But that's another way that is a protective measure for neighborhoods to make sure there's non-proliferation of guest lodging in neighborhoods, so that every house on your street becomes like a hotel. So that 1,000-foot separation also, that requirement, there will be an exemption for applicants who already have a letter of compliance that can move forward with that. And that exemption they have to apply for their special use permit before December 16th. So what we're expecting a deluge of initial applications for special use permits in early December, and they will be processed on a first come, first served basis. The ZBA bylaws limit the number of items on an agenda to 5, and we're expecting that, well, we don't really know how many we might get, but we could easily get 20 or maybe even more. So at 5 a shot, that takes 6 meetings, 4 to 6 meetings, depending how many we end up getting. After that first deluge, we expect it to drop off significantly because it's mainly those who are trying to meet the exemption standard and get their approval right away. So that's our request. Our request is that you would consider additional regular meetings in January, February, March. And normally the board only holds 1 meeting a month in those winter months. but we're expecting that a second meeting likely will be needed. Any questions?
No, if I may.
Yeah.
You stated that, and I read that there's only 5 in the rules for the.
Right.
Is that in the code? Or is
That
that
is a
just-
part of your
I think it's in the
your
bylaws.
zoning board of adjustment bylaws, I believe, or operating standards. That is 5. And I believe that the chair could authorize additional items. But as you may know, whenever you have a special use permit, it's a lengthy review because there's general standards, there's residential standards. So it's not going to be a real quick approval to go through each of these. There's a little bit of time involved. So I would suggest that you won't want to do more than 5 in one evening.
But that is a number we could change if we needed to. We don't have to
Yes.
get the council involved.
Right.
Okay.
And we could change that down the road too. We don't have to do that tonight, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I thought about how long cases usually take, and I'd guess a special use permit takes about 30 minutes or longer. So that's about 2.5 hours. If we have 5. I guess my preference would be to do the additional meetings and then see how that goes. And if we're getting too many in, maybe think about allowing additional ones at that point and think about how we can limit the review or.
Make a recommendation to council to change their ordinance so that there's not that many of them.
But I anticipate these will take a while, each one. So, any other discussion or? Okay.
Well, as I understand, you can call a
Yeah.
meeting whenever you deem it necessary.
Okay.
So
So, I'd like to have. Should we do a motion or I just declare it?
I mean, I think, don't you first want to see what things look like, whether or not you get the applications that you
No, we
expect?
don't. We want to go ahead and have the regular meetings scheduled for January, February, March.
Okay.
Then if we don't have the need for a meeting, we'll cancel the meeting.
yeah, public notice would be easier if you knew that we're going to do them, and then you don't have to make the public if you don't have to have them.
Okay. I feel like we should at least do a voice vote.
Move that we add the
Yeah.
additional meeting for January, February, and
Right.
March of 2020.
Okay.
Between the actual dates.
Is it the
You need
third
it?
Wednesdays?
I think it would be the second and fourth Wednesday.
Oh.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Have you cleared all the dates, the clerk's office and the folks who record and things like that?
No.
Okay.
Would you
Not
accept
do
a
that.
friendly amendment to only have the second meeting if they're guest lodging things?
But I think we can cancel them if we don't have any items.
Well, but
Yeah.
We could-
you don't,
That's just naturally.
you don't throw other things in that second meeting that aren't guest lodging.
I'm concerned about how that would get messy.
Yeah, 'cause
Okay.
if we have 5
Oh, you can,
that are all guest lodging,
And
We
then
still need to
we're
get something
bumping
else.
some other things. So I like the first
I
serve.
think we just got to
Okay,
I'll
so-
withdraw
Setting all
my
the meetings.
request for a
Okay.
friendly amendment.
So we have a motion. Then
Second?
second. Okay. So I requested a voice vote on this item to place additional meetings on the agenda. We have a motion by Bowers, a second by Perkins. So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay. So we will have additional meetings for the next 3 months
Oh, goody.
and go from there. Thank you, Eloise.
Thank you.
The next item is public hearing on application for a special home occupation permit. continued from the September 11th, 2019, October 9th, 2019, and October 23rd, 2019 meetings to allow carpet cleaning, water damage mitigation, and odor removal at 4004 Arkansas Drive. For this, to start things off with this one,
Oh, hold on. I don't want to confuse you.
okay. We have a new board member. Lila?
Yes.
Okay,
Lila.
Amar.
Amar,
And,
yes.
And she has a statement about her review of this case.
I do.
About how you have reviewed. the brief.
Yes, I have. I'm sorry. So tonight is my first meeting. However, I have spent time reviewing all of the statements made by the applicant as well as the public and the board and everyone involved the past 2 meetings. Well, technically 3 meetings. So I have looked at all of the pertinent information and I feel like I am knowledgeable enough to participate in the discussion today.
Thank you.
I'm really impressed.
We are. And then Rob, I believe you had something to add as well.
Yes, wanted to state on the record that I did receive a call from Drew Camp with the Chamber of Commerce asking to speak with me about this item. I did speak with him on the phone about this item. He was calling on behalf of the applicant. Drew never asked me how I would vote or asked me to vote in a specific way. And I don't believe that his conversation with me will influence the way that I would look at the evidence or any information that's presented on this situation.
Great, thank you. With that, we closed the public hearing last time. I do understand, though, that we have a new board member, and it might be other questions. I'd entertain opening the public hearing to ask questions of staff or the applicant. I also see we only have one person besides the applicant in the audience tonight.
So moved.
So if we opened the public hearing, they could do additional information. I think it would be pretty limited if we're all okay. So,
So moved.
motion, thank you.
Yes.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, so does anyone have any questions for staff?
I do have one question. In the past couple of meetings, there has been a lot of discussion about the vehicles that the applicant has at the property. And my question for staff, I believe, would be if the applicant has to register vehicles as part of the business or not.
That's not a requirement for special home occupations or any kind of home occupation vehicle registration.
That's
Yep.
all I have.
Okay,
And I did have one brief follow-up from the last meeting. There was some concern about the chemicals that the applicant keeps as part of the cleaning business. And I did have a follow-up conversation with the fire inspector. And he said that he didn't see any greater risk of the chemicals that are being stored in the garage beyond what would ordinarily be in any house, any other cleaning detergents
okay,
or other similar agents.
thank you.
Mhm.
Are there any questions for the applicant?
Applicant, no, I have a question for staff.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
With a special occupation use permit, does that go with the property or does it cease when, this case, the tenant moves out of the property?
It would cease when he moves out.
Okay.
Mhm.
And isn't there a requirement for MSDS sheets to be provided to all staff or all employees? And shouldn't that be extended to the neighboring property owners?
For what sheets? I'm sorry.
The MSDS, material safety data sheets?
We don't have a specific requirement that I know. I did, the applicant did provide the sheets and I gave them to the fire inspector and he looked through them all and was okay with it. I don't know of any other specific requirement beyond it, what any other, the special home occupation provision doesn't have anything about that. I don't, I'll be honest, I'm not familiar enough with fire code to be able to say whether or not there is such a provision in there, although I don't think that there.
Well, it's an OSHA requirement for businesses to have available on the premises MSDS. And I was wondering if that, was a code that the city included in, home occupation. And if it is, should it be extended?
I do not know. Yeah, that is something that the planning staff does not review. That the fire department reviews that for sure, but planning
Well,
staff does not. So I
think
don't have a
Fire
good answer for you.
department's only concerned with whether or not it's going to blow up when they answer a call to that place and whether it's flammable.
Yeah, like I say, I followed up after the last meeting, and the fire inspector did not have a concern after
Okay.
having reviewed the list of chemicals and detergents.
Any other questions for staff? Okay. So again, we'll take any additional information not previously provided at public hearings. So anyone wishing to speak, please give your orange information card to Jackie. I don't think I said that before. I'm sorry. Did you have additional videos? Oh, but they're not here.
Yeah.
Okay. So seeing no one moving to the microphone, I will close the public hearing. Board, any more questions? Discussion? Okay, I have one note. Last time I made a motion with the several conditions. In considering those conditions a little bit more, and I think staff looked at them as well. I had recommended one condition that was slightly duplicative. So the truck and van shall not be parked on street for more than 4 hours. And then there was also one about not allowing unloading and loading of supplies from vehicles except in the driveway. And I think that those cover each other. So I think the issues that we've seen as a board show that it's problematic when there's loading of these service vehicles on the street. So if they're being unloaded and loaded in the driveway, and plus the 4 hours would be really hard for planning staff to stake out and watch. So if there's no other discussion, I could make another motion. Okay.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Even though it would be hard for planning staff to review those would still be items that the neighbors could complain about if they weren't met. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so. If
Okay.
there were conditions of the
If they were
permit.
conditions of the permit.
Mhm.
So even if they're,
So if it's not a condition of the permit, then there would be no
no way to complain about
No
those specific
standard.
items.
Unless it's already illegal.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to.
And staff's concern there mainly was that it's not zoning necessarily. That kind of thing
Got
is
it.
covered in a separate section of the code about how the public right of way is used. And so that makes it difficult to enforce.
To enforce.
Mhm. And there already are restrictions on parking.
Yep. 48
Therefore-
hours. And yeah,
Yeah. Okay, you've done your homework, yeah.
So, okay. So I will make a motion that we approve with conditions to allow carpet cleaning, water damage mitigation, and odor removal as a special home occupation permit at 4004 Arkansas Drive, with the addition of 2 non-family member employees, and the following conditions. No on-site operation of equipment for cleaning of customers' carpets. Number of employees must be reduced to 2. Loading and unloading of cleaning supplies from vehicles shall only occur when vehicles are parked in driveway. Chemicals shall be securely secured in the garage or in work vehicles. And the special home occupation permit shall be reviewed with a public hearing in 1 year's time.
Second.
Okay, that's a motion by Shoneman, a second by Perkins. Is there any discussion on the motion or conditions?
So the previous motion stated on-site operation of cleaning equipment for customers in general, and you just stated carpet specifically.
No on-site
Can it be
operation.
amended?
Sure. Sorry, my notes differed from the minutes.
Okay.
Yes, I would accept that friendly amendment.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion?
And just so I understand, that was amending of the first condition?
Yes, to reflect
for-
what's in the minutes.
Okay,
There shall be no on-site operation of cleaning equipment for customers.
okay.
I could take a vote on the amended motion.
Kyle just has to accept your.
Oh, Kyle has to
Sure,
do
I'll
it.
accept it.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's good.
Okay. So then we can have a roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Nay.
Aye.
Okay. So the motion is approved. And any person desiring to appeal this decision to a court of record may do so within 30 days of the filing of this decision. All right. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The meeting is adjourned.
What? No discussion?